Imagine if a single whispered order, lost in the chaos of battle, could wipe out thousands of lives and rewrite history's greatest empires. Could the mightiest armies really crumble from such simple stupidity? In the fog of war, where glory and disaster walk hand in hand, leaders often teeter on the edge of triumph or total catastrophe. And the stories that follow reveal how overconfidence, bad luck, and sheer incompetence turned potential victories into legendary failures that still echo through time. As we journey through these shocking military blunders, prepare to uncover the hidden twists that make you question everything you thought you knew about warfare's heroes and villains, starting with a rehearsal gone horribly wrong just before one of the biggest invasions in history. It was April 1944, and with D-Day looming, American forces launched Operation Tiger, a top-secret training exercise off the coast of England to mimic the brutal landings at Omaha Beach in Normandy. Slapton Sands, a quiet stretch of shoreline with cliffs and a lagoon, seemed perfect for the drill. But what began as routine preparation spiraled into one of World War II's most covered-up tragedies, leaving hundreds dead in the cold English Channel waters. Picture this. A convoy of landing ships, packed with over 7,000 troops, set sail under the cover of night, guarded by destroyers meant to fend off lurking German E-boats, those speedy torpedo boats that prowled like sharks in the dark. Yet, in a stunning lapse, British scouts failed to spot 9 E-boats slipping out from Cherbourg Harbor, and radio silence turned deadly as the Americans received no warning. Suddenly, torpedoes ripped through the fleet. LST-507 exploded in flames, sinking in minutes and dragging over 200 men to their icy graves, while LST-531 followed suit, its crew leaping into freezing waves as bullets and shrapnel rained down. Survivors clung to debris, watching as LST-289 limped away, badly damaged, and the rest scattered in smoke screens amid desperate return fire from a lone British corvette. When the smoke cleared, 749 Americans lay dead or missing, not from the enemy they expected on Normandy's shores, but from a mock invasion that turned fatally real, a blunder so embarrassing it was hushed up for decades, forcing Eisenhower to rethink D-Day security and leaving families without answers. But as shocking as this was, it pales against the airborne nightmare that unfolded just 3 years earlier on a sun-baked Mediterranean island, where elite paratroopers met their match in ways no one saw coming. Fast forward to May 1941, Nazi Germany launches Operation Mercury, hurling 22,000 troops, gliders, paratroopers, and mountain infantry onto the island of Crete, aiming to seize airfields and punch a hole in Allied defenses. Hitler himself called it a bold stroke to dominate the Aegean, but thanks to cracked Enigma codes, the Allies knew every detail in advance, rushing reinforcements to key spots like Maleme and Heraklion, exactly where the Germans planned to drop. As the first wave plummeted from the skies, disaster struck, not just from waiting machine guns, but from faulty parachutes designed without shroud lines, sending soldiers spinning wildly like puppets in a storm, crashing to earth with bones shattering on impact. Those who survived the descent found their rifles and machine guns packed in separate crates, scattered and captured, leaving them to fight with pistols. Knives or bare fists against entrenched Australians, New Zealanders, and even furious Cretan civilians wielding pitchforks and ancient rifles. Gliders smashed into cliffs and mortar fire, wiping out entire companies. One assault regiment lost 112 of 126 men in hours, turning what should have been a swift conquest into a bloodbath that claimed 4,000 German lives. Yet against all odds, the Nazis clawed their way to victory after days of slaughter. But at a cost so high, it scarred their airborne forces, forever proving that even the Luftwaffe's finest could fall prey to preparation gone awry. This pattern of hubris repeats in the 19th century, where a foggy valley in Crimea became the stage for one of the most poetic yet pointless charges in military lore, a mistake born not of battle's heat, but of misunderstood hand signals. October 25th, 1844. The Crimean War rages, and at Balaclava, British forces face a Russian onslaught threatening their supply lines. Lord Raglan, from a hilltop perch, spots enemy guns being hauled away and orders his cavalry, split into heavy and light brigades, to retake them with infantry support to follow. But in the smoke and confusion, Aide Captain Nolan points the wrong way, directing the Light Brigade straight into the Valley of Death, a mile-long kill zone flanked by Russian artillery on 3 sides. Led by Lord Cardigan, 670 horsemen thunder forward, sabers flashing, under a hail of cannonballs that mow down men. And mounts alike, Nolan himself falls first, his dying curse lost in the roar. Against impossible odds, survivors overrun the guns, sabering gunners and scattering the enemy. But with no backup, they're trapped. Russian cavalry closes in, and the retreat becomes a slaughter, with 40% of the brigade, 247 men and 400 horses, left dead or wounded in under 20 minutes. Tennyson's poem immortalized their bravery, but the real shock lies in how a simple miscommunication doomed an elite unit, highlighting the perils of command in the fog of war and inspiring reforms that saved countless lives later. Now shift to colonial Africa, where an overzealous Italian general's map mishap turned a push for empire into one of the most humiliating defeats against a determined underdog force. March 1896, Italy, hungry for African territory after earlier setbacks, invades Ethiopia under General Oreste Baratieri, targeting King Menelik II Olo. Now stronghold at Adwa, with 20,000 troops split into ill-coordinated columns. Confident in their modern rifles and artillery against inferior foes, Baratieri ignores supply woes and bad terrain, but a faulty map sends one brigade 5 miles off course, isolating it on exposed hills. As dawn breaks, 30,000 Ethiopian warriors, armed with captured modern guns and led by tribal fervor, ambush the lost Italians, outnumbering them 7-1 and unleashing a torrent of rifle fire and cavalry charges. General Albertone's force crumbles. He's captured, his men massacred, while another column under Armandi fares no better, encircled and cut to pieces by 50,000 charging Ethiopians. Baratieri orders retreat too late. 6,000 Italians die. 3,000 are taken prisoner, handing Menelik a stunning victory that preserved Ethiopian independence and stunned Europe, forcing Italy to rethink its imperial dreams and boosting African resistance worldwide. These blunders often flip the script, letting smaller forces punch way above their weight, as seen in Vietnam's relentless defiance against giants from France to China. From 1946 to 1954, Vietnamese guerrillas under Ho Chi Minh baffle French colonial troops with hit-and-run tactics culminating in the siege of Dien Bien Phu, where hidden artillery rains hell on French forts, capturing the outpost and ending French rule in Indochina. Fast forward to the 1960s, U.S. forces with cutting-edge tech and massive firepower pour in to back South Vietnam, but elusive Viet Cong tunnels and ambushes turn the jungle into a quagmire eroding public support back home until the 1975 fall of Saigon. Even in 1979, as exhausted Vietnamese troops face a Chinese invasion of 200,000, 500,000 soldiers over border disputes, guerrilla warfare stalls. The advance inflicting heavy losses in a month-long clash both sides claim as victory, but which cements Vietnam's unbreakable spirit. These tales of underdogs, from 120 Indians at Longawala, holding off Pakistani tanks with WO-2 recoilless rifles in 1971, to Hannibal's outnumbered Carthaginians enveloping Romans at Cannae in 216 BC, show how terrain, timing, and sheer grit can topple empires. And in quieter moments, accidents like the USS Thresher's 1963 deep-sea implosion, killing 129 sailors due to faulty piping, remind us war's dangers lurk even in peacetime drills. What if the next blunder is just one order away? Have you ever wondered how close your own world came to a similar twist of fate? Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more mind-bending history, and let's uncover what disaster waits in the shadows of tomorrow.